Hey Shawn.
Hey Andrew.
First ever Gambit update show. The Gambit Stratagem
So happy to be here.
update / morning show. We've got a few things we want to talk about. We're gonna, those of you watching us potentially, allegedly, we're gonna talk about a few things going on in the gym. Shawn and I will eventually get into some other topics. We might have guests. We'll see how things develop. We're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants here, but we'll update you with some goings on within the gym and then branch out from there. So first things first, we got through the open. How was your open, Shawn?
Great. I did all the workouts twice. Did better every single time.
As one does.
Qualified for quarterfinals, so happy about that.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I also did all the workouts twice, and we had a whole host of, for those of you that aren't aware, we've got the open. We then proceed into quarterfinals, which quarterfinals will be divided amongst kind of the general open category individuals, the masters, and all the other age group qualifiers, basically. And then from there, we will kind of select teams and alternates and move on to potentially the semifinals, which is where our team made it to last year. We went down to Knoxville, compete in the semifinals. From there, the top performers will go on to the games. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that very much covers it. Yeah.
So that's what our competitive season looks like. We've got a nice list of individuals who've made it through the open into the quarterfinals. I made it through, but for the masters, I didn't get my official invitation. I got my unofficial notification that I made it through for masters 35 to 39, so that's fun. Shawn made it through for the open category. Joel Laney, Clayton Adams, Alex Dunn, Brian Sullivan, John Gramlich, Corey Clark, Maddie Seifert, Rebecca Ritterhoff, Christine Malabanan, Kelly Jackson, and Sarah Birch. So a pretty healthy selection of individuals.
Yeah, that's a great group set.
Yeah. So still TBD how many of these people will pay the next fee and actually sign up to compete in the online quarterfinals, but I think they'll all be completing the workouts just for fun, as I will complete those, probably more seriously complete and register for the actual Masters quarterfinals, which will be in a couple of weeks. But the open general category quarterfinals workouts are announced tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow I think 2 o'clock.
Today's Wednesday, so Thursday at 2 o'clock.
Currently have the floor plans and the equipment list, and they all look like a lot of fun.
And how many, are there 6 workouts?
There's 5 floor plans.
Okay.
So the assumption would be 5 workouts.
Across 3 days, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep your eyes out for that. We'll obviously be in the gym participating in that. We'll try to let everybody know when we're actually completing those workouts and when you can potentially show up and spectate, cheer, and have a beer.
Or 2.
As it were.
Or 2 beers.
Or coffee, depending on time of day. or your preference. Yeah, so some of the other stuff we wanted to touch on, getting into out of kind of current affairs and into general CrossFit stuff. We kind of want to talk about, gloss over a few topics for maybe a new member at Gambit or even a new CrossFitter. Some do's, don'ts, necessities, non-negotiables, and total non-necessities. So what were you doing before you got into CrossFit?
Before CrossFit, I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and dabbling in weightlifting. CrossFit was suggested by my Jiu-Jitsu coach.
So you would have had Olympic lifting shoes and a belt, I presume.
No, actually at the time all I had was Vibram 5 fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, back in those days when that was a thing.
I remember that. I had a pair of those. Okay, so when you got into, tell us about your first CrossFit purchases.
Okay, first CrossFit purchases was, gymnastics grips I think was the very first thing I ever bought. I had a horrific experience on my on-ramp process learning a kipping pull-up where, the hand tears, kind of the general things that everyone experiences when they first kind of dive into kipping and just hanging gymnastics. So grips was my first official kind of CrossFit purchase.
Okay, which ones you get?
I got the really terrible like flaps, the leather flaps that just kind of dangle from your first and middle finger.
So they don't strap on.
They don't strap
right
on. They're
wrist.
just hanging. And
I've never seen those made out of leather. I've only seen them made out of tape.
oh yeah, they were leather because they were terrible.
The kind of like tape ones, I think you're meant to then tape them around
Right.
your wrist. And
Yeah,
the idea
for
is
sure.
just every time you work out, you just retape them.
Yeah. So I had leather ones of those, and those lasted, I think, like a whole month before I kind of progressed. And I think the next pair, like the pair I consider like my first official grips, were a pair of Bear Complex.
Okay.
Kind of the carbon fiber ones.
Yeah, I currently use Bear Complex. I like
Likewise.
the synthetic
Yeah.
material. Yeah, it seems to work well. It also depends on what your pull-up bars are coated in.
Oh,
we
for
always
sure.
used to have Bear steel bars at
Yeah.
the old gym primarily, and it seemed like pure leather grips, like thicker grips, would work really well on those.
Mm-hmm.
And then we shifted over to our new place. We've got the road bars that are all powder coated, and I find the leather doesn't work very well on that. Synthetic stuff tends to grip a lot better.
Sure, yeah, and so the gym I came from, we all use those Spiel bars, which are Bear steel
Yep.
bars. And I mean, I've had probably every single pair of grips out there. Like I've had the Alex Smith ones, I've had a couple different pairs from Victory, I've had all of the different Bear Complex offerings, and kind of to that point, and this matters if you're coming from like the pull-up bar to gymnastics rings, like the grips are just gonna grip differently. For
Yeah.
me personally, I've always just kind of stuck with the Bear Complex. I feel like they offer the best grip regardless of the material that you're trying to grip onto.
Yeah, I've liked mine as well. So you went from grips. What was your second purchase that you were?
Second purchase was a pair of Nike Metcon 3s.
What Metcon are they on now? 5?
7?
7.
7, I think.
All right. I feel like I only had one pair of Metcons. I think they were the 5s.
Okay.
And so I would say, run grips, run shoes. I would say grips are kind of optional, but pretty good. Like
Sure.
Kelly doesn't use grips a lot. I think Kelly and I both went a few years without getting grips. Just went bare hands, and there was a lot of like callus maintenance and that kind of stuff. So if you're getting pretty good at pull-ups, I would say if you're doing workouts with 30, 40 plus pull-ups on a regular basis when you're seeing them and you're getting into chest bars, muscle-ups, grips are definitely a worthwhile investment.
For sure. I will say, like, if I could go back in time, I 100% would have delayed the process of buying grips just to kind of build up some kind of resiliency.
Like
in my
I mean,
hands.
like a lot of things on our list, they can be a crutch.
For sure. For
and
sure.
they're not really solving your problem. So I still do, if it's a lower count pull-up workout, I'll still go no grips just to kind of stay sharp or whatever, keep my hands sharp.
Sure.
But I would say like grips, jump rope, and shoes are like the base level of.
Yeah, for sure a jump rope. For
equipment.
sure a jump rope.
My advice on jump rope, I've had a bunch of different jump ropes. I don't know how many you've had, but I've had like, I think my most expensive rope was like $60 or $70, and my cheapest rope was like $12.
Yeah.
And I always tell people like, get ones with ball bearings in them if you want, but basically those cheapo plastic handled cable speed ropes are the best buy you can get. There's just no point. I've bought $50, $60, $70 ropes, and I've had more issues with those. And it was the kind of thing where you hold the handle and you spin it and it goes, it just spins for days. And man, if you're not doing triple unders and quadruple unders, like that just doesn't matter. Double unders, if you have anything, even the ones that don't even have bearings, they're just plastic on plastic.
As long as you got some spin, some rotation.
I find the lighter the handle, the better. Because you need to feel sensation through the cable, and you're dealing with a relatively thin cable, and there's not a lot of weight there. So if you have a bulkier handle, all you feel is the handle and not the.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got really lucky with my jump rope, and like my first couple of weeks, a former coach that I used to work under just gave me an RPM rope. And I still use that exact same rope to this day. So I don't have that experience with it. So that kind of gives me something to
I would try RPMs again. I tried one RPM rope and hated it.
Fair enough.
Because I just feel like it didn't, as much as I say the spin doesn't really matter that much, that one, it felt like okay when I was jumping with it, but it definitely didn't feel better than my other one, and just holding it, it didn't seem like it spun at all.
Okay.
Does yours have bearings in it, or is it like?
No, I think at this
Metal
point,
on
like,
metal.
in my experience, all of the like new RPM ropes I've seen, like they spin for days,
Okay.
and then once they get a little wear, a little friction starts to set in.
Yeah.
You get some repetitions.
This
under
one I
your
feel
belt.
like was just metal on metal, like there weren't bearings in it.
Yeah, and
so
it
it
very
seemed like it
likely-
didn't spin at all. When I
Sure.
held it, it just went. Zip.
Yeah, and that's how
Stopped.
mine is. I think like a lot of times with the jump rope, whatever you progress, like start to learn your double unders under, you start to dial into that timing, that rhythm.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what you're going to prefer in the long run. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try other ones. It's just like for me, if I tried just yesterday to do a double under with someone else's rope, and just the timing was off, the rhythm wasn't there. I wasn't cued into like how the handle
My tips
spins.
are don't overspend on your first rope,
Sure.
and the length and, like you said, familiarity with the rope. But the length is crucial.
Yeah, and
9 times out of 10, I've got people trying to use just one of the gym ropes, and I convince them to buy a rope because I'm like, you're always jumping with a slightly different length, and your arms have to be at different heights. And
100%.
that's what trips you up the most. So no matter what you get one, and you train yourself to be familiar with the length of that rope. So
Right.
that's most important. But I would
For
say
sure.
like get the nicest, cheapest rope you can get. $20 to $30 should be plenty to get you a rope that works well for you. And then from there, if you decide, I love this thing, I want to upgrade, sure, look into an RPM or something. Because what was an RPM run, like 50?
50, I think it's 50 to 70, depending on
custom.
which style. Yeah.
Yeah.
What cables you get. And that's the thing I liked about the RPM is you just get different cables. So like
Yeah.
the money you're investing with that RPM is mostly just for the handles. The
Yeah.
cables, I think I get
Provided
like
you
a
like the
3-pack.
handles.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't
Yeah.
like the handles, it's not a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. From there, I guess we'll touch on shoes.
Shoes.
I love this because Shawn's a big fan of Nikes. I do not like Nikes at all. Generally, as the years have gone on, so my experience has been when we wind the clocks way back. I don't know what your timeline is like, but when like Kelly and I started getting into CrossFit, there were no Nanos or Metcons or anything. We were wearing Chuck Taylors or Vibram 5 Fingers or whatever, just a running shoe or basic athletic shoe. There were no like wide toe box shoes; they didn't really exist. So my experience was I used to wear like a size 9 sometimes, or 9.5. Started getting into, they released the Nano. I bought the first Nano and then the subsequent 1 or 2 editions of the Nano, and my toes started to spread out, and I had to go up to 10.5 now on shoes. And I think I've just always had a bit of a wider foot, and I was just never wearing the appropriate shoes for it. But like I can't even put on a pair of Chuck Taylors these days without feeling like my foot's being bound.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I love Reeboks. I find no balls to be very comfortable wearing casually. I don't really like working out in them for no real specific reason other than I just like the feel of a Reebok better. I feel like it's a little flatter, a little more stable, has maybe more of a wide base. But I have a pair of canvas no-bull trainers that I wear casually all the time.
Yeah.
And I really like them. They are a little bit more narrow, but I don't feel like they're constrictive. I had a pair of Nike Metcons really nice Metcons that I ordered custom in Gambit colors with Gambit written down the back, and I gave them away after about half a dozen wears because they were painful to my feet. Thought they were one of the best looking shoes I've ever owned. And I get compliments on them all the time, and I just couldn't do anything other than walk around in them. And then I would coach in them and find that my toes were going nowhere.
Yeah.
But I've heard the same as you. I've heard other people say that, I tried these Reeboks and I absolutely hated them, and they were super uncomfortable in my feet hurt. So that's my big tip is like first figure out if you're a wide foot or narrow foot.
Yeah. 100%. It's going to come down to like the size of your foot.
But the big thing is, why do we talk? So for like people new, why do we even recommend shoes? I know it seems like, and kind of why I wanted to address this list is like people come in the gym, they're already spending a bunch of money to get into the gym. They maybe have done an on-ramp, they've got a few $100s invested at this point, and all of a sudden it's like, what do I have to go buy these $130 no bulls or these $150 whatever Froning shoes? And the answer is no. But why we like what makes a CrossFit shoe is it's a relatively flat shoe. It's okay for running, not if you're an avid runner. If you're somebody who goes out and runs
you're not
10
going
miles,
5K in them.
yeah, you're going to put on a Nano and go, this is the worst thing I've ever worn. But we like shoes relatively flat. That's good for a lot of different activities. They're a little more flexible in the front. They're a little more solid in the back. So they're relatively good for weightlifting, relatively good for jumping, jump rope, box jumps, all that kind of stuff. They're relatively lightweight, so you don't feel like you're bogged down during like pull-ups or toes to bar or that kind of stuff. Just a good multi-purpose shoe, and generally they're going to be a little more resilient to things like rope climbs. And no shoe's indestructible at this point, but
yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've had in running shoes like literally just melt the mid of their shoe off.
That really squishy sole. Yeah, you come down on a rope climb, it'll just chew it up instantly.
Oh yeah.
So I would say the shoes are a really good investment there. Definitely not like non-negotiable, but you know, if you're coming in like a squishy running shoe or trainer type thing, you're gonna want to get out of like. You know, I tell people to come to weightlifting class if we've got squats and deadlifts. It's like you're better off in your socks than you are in your running shoes.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's like. It did like for shoes, like I've had every single iteration of the Nobles and Metcons and Nanos. Like I think right now I'm wearing like Nano 6s. It's like they're all good.
That was a great shoe.
It was a great shoe. I have specific preferences, like depending on the workout, right? Like if it's a running workout, I'm probably not going to be wearing my Metcons.
Yeah.
But in like at this day and age, like you can find these shoes on sale. You don't have to go out and spend full price. I think the Nano X, the most recent iteration, they just released a new one, but I think they were on sale for like $50 last week.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go out.
And there's a Reebok outlet out in like
Chesterfield.
Yeah.
There's a Nike outlet out there too.
I think if they did have, and I'm in it, and I don't know if it's because I'm a gym owner, to be honest, or because I'm a coach, but I get a discount on Reebok.com because I signed up for their, whatever they call their trainer group or whatever. So I think if you're a coach, you can sign up and get a discount there. That doesn't probably help the vast majority of people, but there are discounts out there to be had. But I would generally say, what did I have? Well, whatever. That's shoes. I had a thought and it's gone.
Yeah, I would say like the key takeaway is like a running shoe is going to be so much less stable if you're doing any weightlifting.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking about like lateral
Can you lift
stability.
in a running shoe? Yes. Do you want to? No. In the same way that you don't want to run in a bowling shoe. Like, yeah, you can do it. You can go out and run in a dress shoe. You're gonna have kind of a bad time. It's physically possible. Yeah. It's just like you're gonna have a bad time after a while, and not too long into that journey, you're gonna realize it's time to upgrade to some specific tools.
Yeah, and like even to that end, a lot of the CrossFit shoes last for a very long time. I actually still have my original Metcon 3s. Just kind of
I know what I was gonna say.
My closet.
Noble, see what Noble did is they made one shoe. Mm-hmm. Now they make 2 shoes or 3 shoes, but essentially they made one shoe, and they said, all right, this is good. Let's make some new colors. Let's change the sole up a little bit. Let's
limited runs.
Do a limited run or whatever, but generally continue to make the same shoe. Mm-hmm. Nike made the Metcon, and they were like, this is good. People like it. Let's make a couple tweaks, maybe to adjust the design a little bit. New colors. A little bit like new fabrics or something, new materials, and roll out the next Metcon. Reebok made a Nano and said, this is good. Let's throw that away, start fresh with the Nano 2. And they were like, this is good, people like this. Let's throw that away and make the Nano 3. And then somewhere in there, we're up to the 9 or 10.
No, we're at X2.
Well, so the Nano X is a different shoe.
Right.
It's like a hybrid shoe.
Sure.
So they make a Nano 9 or 10 and the Nano X1 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And they're different. It may not even be called a Nano. It may just be an X1. But and that's the other thing with Reebok, because they brought that out, and I'm looking on Instagram, and everybody's going, this doesn't look as good as the last Nano. And it's like, when you break it down, it's not the Nano. It's meant to be like a shoe that's better for running. It's like a Nano. It's built like a Nano, but it's better for running, jumping, that kind of stuff. So they still make the regular old Nano, but yeah, like a couple times they've like bridged the gap. It's kind of like an iPhone a little bit, where they're like, oh, we're gonna bring out the S version. Like everybody liked the iPhone whatever, and then at some point they're like, we're gonna scrap all that. We're going back to the square design. It's all glass again. I know everybody liked the metal back, but we're going back to glass, even though it breaks all the time. So that's kind of point being, like, if you like a Nano, you may not like Shawn loves a Nano 6, hates a Nano 9.
So my favorite CrossFit shoe ever was the Nano 4. And I literally wore my Nano 4s until the bottoms fell off.
I wore my Nano 6s until the top of the heel wore out.
Yeah.
And like the plastic inside the heel was just rubbing on my
Maybe that's why I like Metcons, is because I got frustrated that you can't find the 4s anymore.
Yeah, I do wish they would Because there are definitely like camps. I don't hear anyone calling for the old Metcon
No.
4 or whatever,
No.
but you're going like, bring back the Nano 5. Or
Yeah,
whatever
that's interesting. Well, and they have done that before. They've brought back
Like a special
they did like a
edition or
rerun of the Nano 2s.
They did do the Nano 4, but it was
They did.
all leather.
Yeah.
One of them. And I'm like, I don't want an all leather shoe to work out. I want the mesh, breathability.
So I think to condense this,
So, yeah.
find an affordable pair of shoes that you like.
I think we should spend another 20 minutes on shoes.
I mean, we definitely could.
So, weightlifting belts.
I don't think they're needed.
Don't buy one. Move on. Next.
I genuinely don't think they're needed.
If you're listening to this video or watching this video and you're not sure if you need a weightlifting belt or not, you don't.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more.
Great. Supplements.
I'm gonna be honest. I also don't think that they're needed. Not
Yeah.
until your nutrition's really dialed in.
Totally agree. If you're somebody who's like trying to dial in your nutrition journey and somebody says, here's your meal plan and here's your jug of creatine and your
Right.
protein or whatever, it's like, dial in your meal plan first. That said, we do have people come in that are pretty healthy eaters.
Sure.
And like, don't get me wrong, even if you're a relatively lean individual and you eat quote unquote well, you have a healthy dose of fruits and vegetables every day, and you're pretty well balanced, there's obviously tweaks and improvements to be made there performance wise. But if you do come in and you've got a relatively solid foundation going there and you want to add something else into it, or time doesn't allow you to get a good post-workout meal in, a post-workout shake, protein and carbs could be beneficial just for the logistics and timing of it, by all means. And then from there, baseline supplementation, if you're like, I've absolutely got everything dialed in, want to get into some supplementation, possibly fish oil. I'm a little on the fence on that, just because I don't personally feel a huge difference when I'm on or off fish oil. I kind of like take it and trust that it's making me feel better to some extent. But creatine is scientifically proven to be beneficial and have no downsides and be an inexpensive supplement at this point.
It's like the one legal, legitimate performance enhancer that you can take.
Yeah,
it isn't backed by a bunch of weird science.
Yes, and I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I believe, as I understand it, it effectively makes your muscles hold on to a little more water and
increases power output and speed,
and just kind of helps the muscles function better and therefore potentially grow a little more and get stronger, that kind of stuff. So people do see a little bit of weight gain when they start creatine because of that water retention, and then over a longer use, they'll actually see muscle gain.
For sure.
From that.
Couldn't
super cheap supplement. The only other one I throw out there that I would say is kind of hit or miss for people, or controversial, I would say, that's the word I'm looking for, is branched chain amino acids. And I've talked to nutritionists about this, and I see all kinds of like health coaches on Instagram saying, oh, here's your branched chain amino acids, there's your trash can, throw them right in. Go eat a meal or have a protein shake or whatever. And I feel like the branched chain amino acids is one of the few supplements I've ever taken where I really noticed an actual result. Like, I can feel it working, and that is a reduction in muscle soreness and recovery. Yeah. So on like a competition day, if I'm doing 4 events in a day, for example, a dose of branched chains somewhere in the middle kind of helps me like fight off that muscle fatigue and soreness from the previous event. And yeah, obviously I'm eating food and having a protein shake as well, but the nice thing about branched chains is there's not really any or many calories in it. You kind of sip on it. You're not going to drink a protein shake like intra-workout while you're out there doing CrossFit events. And also, if I have a really heavy training day, the following day I'll come in and be stiff and sore, and branched chains really help me like take the edge off the soreness. And those can be found pretty cheaply as well. They can also be super expensive.
I think another thing is like a lot of the time,
no magic bullet.
Branched chains will just help people drink more water, right? Because I've seen a lot of people use it just as a water.
That's my life hack. I don't drink enough water. I don't enjoy water, and usually if you can find a nice tasting branched chain, you're kind of like getting that in.
It's like Meal Plus.
Yeah, and also if I want to take my creatine, like creatine monohydrate generally comes without flavoring.
Right.
And there's some debate over the timing of creatine.
Sure.
Pre-workout, post-workout. latest science I've read is it really doesn't matter. They haven't been able to find.
Likewise.
It's just kind of like, just take it once a day. It doesn't really matter.
Just take it.
But it's like, what am I going to mix it into? A little scoop of branched chains gives me a little flavor. I can throw that creatine in there. I don't notice it. So
yeah, I think like for supplements, I generally agree across the board. It's like I think most people will benefit from a protein supplement because it's going to, as the name implies, supplement your food-based protein.
Yeah. And
the reality is, having worked with nutrition for some time now, is most people aren't eating enough protein.
As long as you remember, they're called supplements, not replacements.
Exactly.
They're not called substitutes. They're called supplements.
Right. And I think and ultimately you kind of, not you, but people often gloss over the fact that they are called supplements. They're meant to supplement food, just kind of daily lifestyle stuff. There's, you're not going to outwork bad sleep, bad diet, bad hydration. So kind of looking at all of that stuff in there is like, I think protein's really important. I take a daily pack personally. I think it's called Wad Pack from NF Sports. It's got fish oil in there. It's got vitamins, minerals, basically like a multivitamin. I couldn't tell you that it makes me feel better or worse. I just take it because it's affordable and the science says that I'm supposed to take that stuff for joint health, etc. And I think a lot of people can benefit from like a greens and a reds supplement. Just again, reality, a lot of people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables.
However, like since you bring it up, I just was talking with greens with somebody yesterday about greens, and I've been one to kind of buy greens on. We carry Swolverine now. They make a greens supplement that's not too bad. But generally, I just started ordering stuff on Amazon that was affordable. I found a green supplement that was chocolate flavored, and it was probably like $20 to $30 a tub. Because these big name greens, and the labels look great, like Athletic Greens, and I think First Farm's making a greens now, and they're not bad products by any means, but $50, $60 for a supplement. It's like when you start looking at these supplements, that's one of my big arguments I make with people. Is like, we can absolutely look at creatine, we can look at branched chains, we can look at protein, but if you're taking this stuff on a regular basis, protein's $50 for 30 servings generally. If you're mixing a carbohydrate with that,
another $50.
That's another $50-$60 on top. You're doing greens, that's $50-$60. I mean, before you know it, you're at $200-$250 a month in supplements. So you gotta weigh that out. And like Shawn said, if your nutrition's not dialed in,
I can tell you $250 a month spent on food is going to take you so much further than the supplements are going to be. So and like I always look, like the way I explain this to people is like, you kind of look at your pyramid, right? You've got nutrition as your base. Your supplementation isn't until like the very top. Like it's going to get you that extra 1%, but your food is going to get you, 60, 70, 80% along the way.
So in summation, we'll kind of wrap it up here with a summary, like our main topic today, starting CrossFit, or starting at Gambit at least. You come in, you do your on-ramp, address your shoes and or jump rope first. Jump rope because of personal preference and getting acclimated to it. Shoes can kind of be a preference thing. At some point, get whatever brand you want, but find one that's comfortable and that is relatively low drop and relatively minimal or firm soles. From there, progress into potentially grips, depending on your pull-up strength, and supplementation only after nutrition, which you can obviously talk to either of us about, mostly Shawn.
And if you've done your on-ramp, we've had a nutrition consultation. Right? We've started to work on some of that.
And if you haven't just done your on-ramp, you can always come back and talk to Shawn. He's probably reached out to you at some point if you have questions about the most logical. We're not here to try and get you to spend more money on supplements and garbage that you don't need. We want you just to get better. So that is our first ever Gambit Update show. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.